Hello, welcome to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch.
Hi, I'm Dede DeMayo. Glad to have you here. Light, loving blessings.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. And today we're going to be talking, just Dede and I, talking to you about how to be an informed advocate. And what that really means to us is having a lot of information that helps you make better decisions. Particularly today, we'll be talking about medical interventions, um, medic, medical interventions, medicines. Now, remember, we're not doctors. We're not here to give medical advice. If you have an illness or disease or if something comes up for you, please see your practitioner, your healthcare practitioner, whoever that may be. And of course, we want to just share our experience and share some resources. We want you to be healthy, happy, and at your best. And so we know that the health of ourselves and the health of our families is our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of doctors or healthcare practitioners or anyone else. It's ours. And
Correct.
so, yeah, so with that, we really want to encourage you to do your own research. And the problem with that is sometimes people don't know where to look for good information. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And Dede wants to share some personal experience of what kind of started all of this. Our show today. It's so interesting. I always say when we teach from where we are, or share from where we are, that's the best place to start, right?
Right. I mean, even somebody just a while ago, I was having a conversation on a whole nother matter. Still, it was dealing with, someone's well being. You can't talk about it unless you've experienced, usually, you know. I mean, most people don't even know where to start until they run right smack into something and they have to learn about it. So for this situation, I've always been someone that wants to be informed about medication, about what doctors do, about different things. I purposely took an EMT and paramedic certification course so I would know how to do things for my own family and what exactly was being done to them if they had an emergency situation. I'm taking it one step further. I also research medication, and I became more of an advocate about that, with my younger daughter. She doesn't like take medication at all. So it's like, okay, if you need a Tylenol or an aspirin, she wants to know what's going to do her body, but she's making an informed decision. And this particular thing that just happened, why we wanted to talk about this show information today is because I'm caring for someone now that's a young girl. And even with all the times she's been to the doctor, and I know it's been numerous, and all the times that, she's been under supposed watchful eyes, she still had no clue she didn't have a kidney. But yet she was being prescribed medication that the kidney couldn't process. And so she, developed some problems. We were in the ER. And, it just, I guess I'm flabbergasted. First of all, that how, there's nobody knows you don't have one kidney until you just know you don't have one kidney. But the fact that medication is being prescribed based on, certain symptoms you're exhibiting or needing, but yet you have no idea how that's metabolized and you're just taking it. A person with one kidney can't metabolize long-term medicine or something that's damaging to the kidneys. You only got one. So, I mean, I'm still in shock. I guess I'm in shock too, because, the time that I've had this person, and I've been responsible for their care, I think the medication's harmless that she came with, other than I don't like the fact, so much is being prescribed for children. But it could have been killing her. And I'm really emotionally affected by that, and I
Yes,
know she is.
yes.
So,
That's shocking.
mhm.
To find out that you only have one kidney. How did the doctors find out?
Well, she had been experiencing symptoms of constipation, and we went to her regular doctor. Doctor prescribed, I think it's polyethylene glycol. It's one of the plastic, fiber things they give you. And, it's really kind of harmless. The body should pass it or whatever. And during the time that she was taking it, she started developing stomach pains. And I was like, well, you're just, really backed up, really full of poop or whatever. And so we did all the natural, exercise, trying to do sit-ups, rolling, pushing, and massaging the colon area and things like that, increasing fiber, increasing water, just everything. And then she developed more pain. And I was like, wow, okay. So I did a test on her stomach because, when you suspect appendicitis, I mean, she also had thrown up a couple of times, starting like Wednesday. And I was like, well, maybe it's appendix. So I did a check. Well, she did a recoil, which, severe pain on the side of her body that indicates, appendicitis. And we went into the ER. Well, they do a CAT scan or a CT scan to determine, if there's any inflammation or anything going on there. Well, during that CT scan, I'm standing in there watching it, come up on the screen, and I'm like, am I seeing that right? There's only one kidney, and through that process, we found that out, but also that she had, other things going on. And then,
Wow.
and so we found out that medication she was taking probably inflamed it and made the situation worse.
Yes,
So,
was agitating
mhm.
the issue. That's so interesting. I mean, first of all, I feel so. I mean, I can't even imagine what she's going through right now. And how old is she? Like she's 14.
She's 14. Mhm.
So first of all, I can't even imagine what she's going through right now and what this means for her, for what she wants to do in her future. I think there's probably some consequences of that
Yeah,
for her health.
yeah.
And so, what comes to mind is how many other people don't know what's going on with their body. I truly advocate for getting tested, like going to the doctor and getting tests, right?
Well, I think what would be helpful, because I know there are times when medication is needed because people don't have access to natural, or understand how to do that. And sometimes, you just reach your limit and you're going to go to the doctor. So we're not saying don't go to the doctor. We're not saying don't take prescriptions. But and if you're prescribed something that is long term or maintenance medication, even if it's just aspirin to avoid having a stroke as an adult. Once you reach a certain age, they say take so much. You know, my thinking is, hey, let's do blood work and check to see if you have the organs you need and they're healthy to metabolize what you're being prescribed.
Sure.
You know, now people are like, "Oh, that's rare." Well, I did research on people that are born without, uh,
Uh,
but
Two hits.
it's 1 in 750. So that's not rare, in my opinion. That's more
Mm,
frequent. And the largest one was 1 in 1,000. That's still not rare. That's common enough that doctors should be saying, "Hey, let's make sure you have what you need to metabolize this."
right.
You know,
Right.
and or find another way to treat it,
Right.
because you could be killing what you need to live, and that's your organs,
Exactly.
your liver and your kidneys.
Exactly.
So,
I appreciate you sharing this story. I mean, I think a lot of people have the idea that doctors and people in the medical industry, like, they know it all or they can find it all out, right? Which is not necessarily the case. I mean,
mhm,
there's a lot that goes on in the medical industry that is not really talked about. There's simple human error, first of
mhm,
all.
mhm.
Second of all, and I want to talk about that a little bit more, but also, they're not gods, you know?
Right.
They can't see all and know all. They're human.
Yeah.
And so I really think that keeping that in mind and knowing that everybody, also doctors with it, they all have different opinions about
Mhm.
things as
Yes.
well.
Yes, they do.
So keeping that in mind too, that's why you go to one doctor and you say, I think I need a second opinion, and you can go somewhere else.
Well, I was gonna say, going to one type of doctor or another, if possible, if you don't go to a naturopath or do your own herbal medicine and things like that, a DO, not an MD, a DO is the closest you're going to find to someone that practices natural, the whole body. They're going to look at the whole body. And I've been fortunate enough to find someone like that, and they don't just throw prescriptions at you. They want to know, what's happening and how can they treat it from a different way. They might do something on a temporary basis, but their goal is to get you healthy, not keep you coming and getting a prescription every month.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I find that's also true for nurse practitioners.
mhm,
A lot of
yeah,
nurse practitioners have more of a broad range of resources and information,
mhm,
and they just look at things from a different perspective, like a broader perspective. That's been my
right,
experiences with
right,
nurse practitioners.
yeah,
And a lot of times they do a lot of the things that the doctors also do.
yeah,
So a couple of things I wanted to do. One, first of all, I wanted to share some statistics with you guys because I like looking up statistics, just because it gives you a perspective, a broader perspective of what's happening
mhm,
in our world. So, and this is not to demonize or say anything negative about the medical industry. I have friends who are nurses and doctors, and they're really great people. But as a whole, I think looking at the system, I think it's super important to understand what's going on here. So this I got these statistics from mymedicalscore.com. It's a really good resource. And this is about medical error and statistics. So, medical billing errors cost Americans 210 billion annually.
mm,
Medical errors, billing errors. Okay, that's how much money that's costing us. Roughly 12 million Americans are misdiagnosed each year.
mhm,
12 million. Medical errors cause an estimated 250,000 deaths in the United States annually. Medical errors, 250,000
yeah,
deaths. As many as 80% of medical bills contain at least one error. 80%, that's high, right? And a little more than 4,000 surgical errors occur each year. And then it's estimated that 7,000 to 9,000 patients die every year from medication errors. 9,000 from medication errors. So today's show is really about how do I get informed consent? How do I know what interactions, what drugs interact with what other drugs or whatever, so that you can feel empowered to
correct,
know to know these things, and to have a better sense of how do I want to proceed with my health, knowing what I know. Informed consent is such a huge part of being your own advocate and being an advocate for somebody else. So, two resources I want to mention, I want to tell you guys about. Dede might have one or two also. The first one is a website called drugs.com.
mm,
And this is where you can look up any drug interactions, what they're for, what their side effects are, and any contraindications. I used it last night to do various lookup for different drugs and things, and it was really, really good. I just learned about it because I had been using actually a book that my mom has suggested, called The People's Guide to Deadly Drug Interactions and How to Protect Yourself from Life-Threatening Drug Food, Drug Vitamin Combinations. This is an old book, actually. It's been out there for quite some time, so much so that you can also download it for free on the internet, and we're going to put that a link in the comments. It's a really amazing resource. I haven't seen anything else like it, really. So we're going to put that out there so that you can utilize that if you need it. And so the other thing that we need to mention and talk about is about FDA approved drugs. Okay, so I want to talk about that just a little bit because what people don't know about the FDA is actually really interesting. I had to do a little research on this because I was very surprised at what I found out. So,
ooh.
oh my, it came up, didn't it? That's good. So I got this information off the FDA website, and you can go and look at it yourself, fda.gov. And so the FDA doesn't develop or test products before approving them. Okay, so the FDA doesn't do any product testing or medical testing at all. Instead, the FDA experts review the results of laboratory, animal, and human clinical trials done by manufacturers. So it's the manufacturers of the companies that do the research and the clinical studies, right? If the FDA grants an approval, it means the agency has determined that the benefits of the product outweigh the known risks for the intended use. All right, so the FDA determines, well, this is happening when you take it, but also this is happening, so this is going to be okay. It might be okay to go ahead and take this, even though, but you have to tell people that these are the side effects, this is what's going to happen if you take this drug, and then it's okay. Well, I think that's a very interesting um, thing, because what else we learn is the FDA has also been in the midst of several conflicts of interest. Like the employees that work for the FDA, many of them, not many, let's say several. I'm going to say, if we could say a percentage, because there was a study done about how many employees from the FDA go to pharmaceutical companies afterwards. That to me, that's a conflict of interest. So I just want to mention that part of it, because that research that I did was very interesting, for people to understand that there's been some controversy around it. Should FDA employees be allowed to go work for pharmaceutical companies, because knowing that they can secure a job in that industry, is there something going on within the organization that allows the pharmaceutical companies to have more leniency over what happens? And these are reviewers. These are the reviewers of the data. And so there's concerns around that. There are people who say red flags, that that's not okay, that shouldn't be happening, because of some of the ways in which the FDA has been doing their testing. And one of the things that I've found too, and you guys may have heard about this, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more about it so we can go back to what we're talking about. But recently, a lot of people don't know, but recently Zantac, something that people take for acid reflux and GERD, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been pulled off the market because there is an element in it called NDMA that is cancer causing, and literally causes like 12 kinds of cancer. And people have been using this for some time. There's class action suits right now against the companies, the manufacturers of Zantac, because they failed to tell people, and the ideas they knew back in 2004 now, the National Cancer Institute linked antacids and the elements in antacids to bladder cancer. 2004.
Wow.
And it continued. People are continued to allow to take this. And it's because the FDA said, well, it's worth the risk, right? So when people don't have informed consent about these things, they can have an effect on the body that wasn't intended. But if it's still approved and nobody's sounding the alarm, then it could continue to cause damage.
Mm-hmm.
And Zantac is just one example of that. I actually found many examples of
Mm-hmm.
medications that had these side effects that people weren't telling people about. So I think it's important for us to really have a perspective of medications of not danger, but do your research.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, I noticed, pharmacists, for example, when you get a prescription, they're supposed to do counseling. And most of them make an attempt of, have you taken this drug before and blah, blah, blah. But somewhere, again, my point after this last experience was, who tells the patient to find out if their body can metabolize it? It doesn't matter about all the other lists of stuff that could happen. What is your body going to do with it? You know what I mean? And that's I think, wow. I mean,
Agreed. I mean, because our bodies are so different,
mm-hmm.
I think it's not possible to really know, just if you take this pill, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way of knowing until you do it.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the damage can be irreversible.
Yeah, true.
And that's why it's so important for us. Now, I typically don't go see a doctor unless I need some kind of test done. I go to a natural. I don't go to an MD. I go to a naturopathic doctor or homeopathic doctor. And I find that the tests and the diagnostic type things that they have is much more extensive and very specific. So in the coming month, or actually the rest of this month, we're going to have some very interesting naturopaths on the show who have this technology that I'm referring to, and they're going to talk about it a little bit. They're going to talk about natural ways of caring for your body, how to ask certain questions. That's another thing I don't think people know as a advocate for yourself or somebody else, what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if when somebody in authority tells us that this is good for you, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to take, and they do it with such confidence or maybe even politeness. I mean, there's this way that doctors talk to people. Some have really great bedside manner, and some are just very authoritative. It runs the gambit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gamut, and so sometimes as patients, especially as a patient, if something just happened, you're still wrapping your head around what just happened
Right,
here.
right.
So thank God you were there for the person you're caring for, Dede, to ask the right questions and to know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't have that. I feel like it's really, really important to be able to have someone on your side, to have a family member or a friend, to even go to them and say, listen, if something happens to me, I want you there. Just so that you can ask questions, you can be sure you can relay things to me, help me understand, ask them to give me time. There's all these different things that can be done that we don't think about, that we
Well,
don't know.
exactly. And a good example of that, a friend of mine, she just recently had to make a decision to have neck surgery where they fused, the vertebrae together. And she, it really stressed her out because it was, a big decision. Don't do it. You risk paralyzation. Do it. And, surgery could be mucked. So she, it was really emotional. So during the doctor's office visit, I was there to listen, hear her questions, hear the answers, and then also because there was a couple times she was like not even answering the question the doctor was asking. And so anytime it's an emotional thing, yeah, please look for support. Look for, it's not like just going and getting, your feet scraped or whatever by a podiatrist or, or your, eyes and all the just regular health checkups. If you have something serious going on,
Absolutely.
take some with you, make a list of questions before you go. As my son pointed out the other day again to me, Mom, you got this thing in your hand, right? Put the search thing in the, ask questions, find somebody that's been through it, and just be
How,
informed. I think
exactly.
that's what we're really, your health is important. Once it's gone, you can't get it back usually. I mean, it's, some things are irreversible. So,
That's exactly right. That's exactly. And on the flip side of that, when you care for your body and you maintain regular maintenance for it on a day-to-day basis, what you find is you have better health.
hmm.
You have better longevity. You have more energy, and to be able to, instead of, well, I'll just wait till something goes wrong. It's like your car, like having maintenance on your car, getting oil changed. Not just making sure you have gas to run it, but also really taking care of it. It runs better. You will have less problems. I mean, that's just common sense,
Right, right.
And so with this final thought, this is also something I read on mymedicalscore.com, and that's actually a good resource too, Dede. My Medical Source
Okay.
is a Scott. Sorry, My Medical Score, one word, .com. And here's what they say: educate yourself and your loved ones as well as you can on your specific health issue or health concerns. And don't be afraid to push back if something doesn't seem right. That persistence might just save your life. And when I read that, I thought specifically about Dede. And my mom. My mom's a health advocate too, and an advocate for elderly and older populations. And to be able to push back when somebody is saying, "No, you have to do this," I think is also about confidence, self confidence, and knowing that you are the one that has the last word in your health. Okay, and that you can look for other opinions, and you can look for other advice, and you can look for more information about what you have, and not just take what somebody says, whoever they are, as the gospel, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And so I really appreciate women like you, Dede, like my mom, who stand up for their right to freedom and for health, for medical freedom, and the right to choice and the right to informed consent. Everyone has that. Everyone has that. Not everybody knows. So that's what we're here to let you know. You have the right to informed consent today, any day, anytime. And again, we're not medical doctors. We don't have a medical license. We're not giving medical advice. We're just telling you and telling you about our experience and sharing the information that we've gathered. Thanks for putting that up, Dede. If you know someone, here's another thing that can help us, right? If something's going on with us, is our light intercession list. Prayer, meditation, energy really works. And so you can text or send us a message to 805-500-3343, or you can also message us at Beyond the Edge TV. And if you know someone that is struggling right now, they need some light, some unconditional love, some prayers, send us their name and their number. One last question I have, Dede, what do you think we need to believe individually and um, as a consciousness, as a mass consciousness, to feel more empowered about our health and about our physical bodies, physical, mental, emotional health?
I think believing you can trust your inner voice, your intuition about what's best for you,
Mm.
in spite of the outward. Whether you're a yes or a no on however you're going, medically, physically, spiritually, emotionally, that is correct for you, regardless of what anybody's saying. So
Mm.
trust that.
Trust your inner voice. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I like that. Okay, so let's just do theta real quick since we have a
Okay.
couple of minutes. And so with theta healing, it's just a meditation that helps us connect to all that is, to oneness, to creator. And what we do in this meditation, if you say yes, you will get the belief or the download, whatever we're going to ask creator for, and bring it into your life. In this case, what Dede said, I think, is 100% trusting your inner voice. So if you want to feel confident, secure in being able to trust your inner voice, just say yes, say it out loud.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And we're just going to create that right now for everyone that said yes. Beautiful. Okay, good. And take a deep breath in and a breath out. Excellent. Really good. Really good. Beautiful. So, man, this has been great. It's been really informative. Next week, we're going to have a really amazing guest on the show. I'm pretty sure it's Gwen Foster tomorrow. So I can't wait for not tomorrow, next week. So I can't wait for that. She is one of those naturopaths I was mentioning, and she is going to bring so much information and beautiful light to the table. So I want to wish you all long life and vibrant health. Thank you so much for joining us today. Namaste.
Bye, y'all.